Hey, welcome to the channel. My name is Louis Jaramita, owner and founder of Aspiring Gent and Primo Tailoring. Thank you for being here today. What we're going to talk about is how to let out a dress shirt. Now, we found ourselves in a bit of a predicament recently. We have all of these shirts that are too tight for our customer, right around the waist. Now, if you know anything about tailoring or men's garments, you know that these side seams have very little to let out. So we're going to have to find a way to get creative to salvage these shirts so we don't have to completely remake them, because he's leaving the country in a week and we don't have that kind of time. But one of the beautiful things about being put up against a wall like this is it helps you to be a little bit more innovative and creative. And I've never seen anybody let out a shirt the way that I'm about to show you, and I think it's really cool. So stay tuned if you want to see how to get an extra inch to almost 1.5 inches out of your dress shirts after they've already been made. Revolutionary stuff, guys. Stay tuned. Let's hop right into it. So as you can see here, I'm going to pull this guy down a little bit. This is for demonstration purposes because I don't have the actual form for the guy's size. But you can see how there's kind of wrinkles coming through here. These buttons are stressed. This is what it looked like on him. It was probably about like 1 inch too big. So what we're going to do is just from like the chest point here all the way down, we're going to try and let that out 1 inch max if we can. Give him a little bit more room, allow these shirts to breathe on him. Now, the way we're going to do this is we're actually going to let it out in the placket. Now, if you take a look at the front of a shirt, you will notice that there is a double fold in the front placket. There's probably about 2.5 inches inside this placket of extra fabric, keeping this rigid. What we're going to do is we're going to take off all the buttons. We are going to slide out the placket front, move those buttons over, and then hopefully have a nice clean placket line running down the front of the shirt. Now, we did it on one shirt. It looks good on the mannequin, but we want to show you how to do it, and then we're going to have the customer try it on, and if it works, we'll probably post this. So if you're watching this, it worked. So let's get right to the first step, which is taking off all of the buttons up to where we need to start changing this placket. So for us, we're going to stop right up here to the second button from the top, because we're only letting out from the top of the bottom of the chest down to the bottom of the hips. So let's just start by doing that. Now, after you have all of those removed, we are going to remove the stitching on the placket up to, again, right below this button so that we can reform it. The one thing I will say is this is very critical not to rip any of the fabric. So please take your time removing the buttons and this stitching, because any kind of hole in this fabric will show through once you lengthen it. And we don't want that to be the case. It will completely ruin the shirt. So please take your time here. Just as a point of reference, when you see after you take out that stitching, there is a good amount of fabric still left in there. We're just going to slide it over. So here we are. We've got the whole placket undone up into the point where we want it to be, completely transitioned back in. So the next thing we need to do is mark how far out we want this to go. So like I was saying, in the hip area, which is right about here, we wanted it to come out 1 inch from its button. So it's hard to see right now, but that buttonhole where it used to be was right here. And we want it to come out 1 inch, which means it needs to come about 1/4 inch off to the side. So we're gonna unwrap this. We're gonna go to where that crease is, 1/4 inch. And at the end of this ruler is where we want to put our next button in line with all of that. So there, we'll do it down here at the bottom, go over 1/4 inch, just like that. And then we'll end up tapering it right back up into that button, because the chest and stomach were fairly decent. It's just really right in this hip area. Now the next measurement we need to take is, if everything's wrapped back up, what is the distance from the button to the edge of the placket, so we don't see any skin or undershirt, as these buttons would be too close to the edge here. So we are looking at about 1/2 inch to about 3/4. I think we can get away with about 1/2 inch distance between where the button is and where the edge of the placket is. So from where our new button will be, we're gonna go a 1/2 inch over and put a new pin. So these are our first set of pins. This is where our first fold is gonna go. So we're gonna press everything like that, and we're gonna taper it up back up to the button. And then from here, we're gonna take whatever is left over and wrap it back around to close off that placket. So now we've got this pinned. We're just gonna go through the shirt and kind of ease it back in. And then we're gonna go to the ironing board and press it all flat. And we are just going to start by pressing this placket completely flat, getting rid of any extra threads that might be in there, just like this. Whoops. Careful here. Like I just did, you don't want to take out these pins. So that the iron doesn't take out your pins, safety pins would be a good thing to use in this situation. All right, so we've got that done. We're going to press to our first line, which would be that first row of pins, letting the fabric just kind of naturally find its path. If it's not right on your 1/2 inch mark, that's fine. We want this fabric to look as natural as possible. And then up in this part here, we are just going to press this crease, make sure everything is laying flat on the other side, into where the old one was. Again, just letting that go as naturally as possible. Beautiful. Now we've got that first placket line done. We're going to flip the shirt over, and we are going to press this extra fabric back in on itself like so that when you fold it over, it creates a new placket. Now it will be a little narrower at the bottom, so if you would like to adjust it just for aesthetics, that's a little bit further out, you can do that. But we're gonna press it just like that. So now that we have everything pressed, we're going to recreate this stitch right down the placket. We're gonna take it to the sewing machine and stitch right along the edge, with a matching thread. And then at the bottom here, we're just gonna redo this rolled hem look on the machine, take it over, add the buttons, and we'll be good to go. Have everything sewn and ready to go. All we have to do now is line up the buttons, add them back into their spots, and then have the customer come try it in. So that's what we're going to do now. We are going to start by buttoning this one button that we left off on, pin the bottoms together to where they just overlap barely. Beautiful. Now we're going to pull this nice and tight, just like that. Now from here, we're just going to put a pin through the buttonholes to the other side, and that will mark where our buttons need to go. So now we have all those spots marked. Just grab a needle thread, just add all those back to it. Now with all of that said and done, we have a dress shirt that is actually quite a bit loose now, as you can see. I think this method worked out pretty well, and if you find yourself in the need for an extra inch to maybe even just 3/4 of let out in a dress shirt, this is the method that we are going to be using and that we would recommend to you guys. Now, we've got about 4 more of these to do, but while we're doing that work, you guys enjoy wearing your newly fitted dress shirt. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, get it out so more people can see it, and it lets us know to make more videos like this. Otherwise, I'm Lewis from Primo Tailoring, and look forward to working with you guys again.